Hello, welcome to my alternative channel, Anti-War. And today on Anti-War, Louisiana Beer Reviews presents MXD, Mixed Drinks Company, Premium Malt Beverage, Blue Hawaiian. Stop your crying. It's time for a Blue Hawaiian. This is produced in Arizona by the Mark Anthony Group. And I'll show you their website. Now I'm going to go put the rest of this in the fridge because you do not want these things getting warm. No way. Some beers like Imperial Stouts do better at warm temperatures. Premium malt beverages, flavored malt beverages definitely do not. So we get a no foam. We get a translucent, looks like a party ball, blue. The magic of food coloring. Uses real cane sugar and is crafted to remove gluten. The aroma, now can you imagine 12% alcohol? The aroma is strong beer, like alcohol, like you can smell it. The strong alcohol bread. And maybe some, like, they're saying coconut and pineapple, maybe some pineapple. I'm thinking, all right, taste, cheers. Yeah. When I first tried it last week, I couldn't pick up the coconut. I'm getting that right now. Coconut right there. And pineapple. Okay, you got me. Heavy body. Sweetness. 5 out of 5 sugar cubes. If you like sweet drinks, this is one for you. If you hate sweet drinks, this is definitely not one for you. Bitterness. There may be a little bitterness from like fruit skin. So let's say 1 out of 5 fruit skins. It does contain hops, but it's probably just aroma hops. Kind of, and it wouldn't matter because they filter it down to where the beer has become neutral, like vodka. No aroma, no flavor, supposedly. And then they want the flavoring to come from the flavoring. Why don't they just use vodka? That would be easier, wouldn't it? Well, because many states like Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Georgia, they don't allow liquor sales from a convenience store or a grocery store. So by putting this in cans and using a beer base, they can sell it out the gas station, convenience store, grocery store. Okay. Now Louisiana doesn't have that rule, so they could use vodka here and it wouldn't matter. And if you go to Canada, they might have vodka, a vodka version, if they sell it there. In Europe, they call these alco pops, and they use alcohol, like maybe some cheap rum or cheap vodka. This is sort of like Hawaiian punch for adults. I'm not saying adults with a drinking problem, but although you could develop one with this kind of stuff. But adults, 1 can, that's fine. 4 cans, not so fine. I bought a 4-pack at Walmart, 12-ounce cans. It was $7.22 plus tax. Yeah, I'll show you the website. So how would I score it? How am I going to score it? It's not as good as the Cayman Jacks and the Mike's Hard because of the strength. I think the 12% kind of hurts it. It's made by the same people, so it's all from the same factory, same brewery. But I think but they wanted to have a super strong out there. I wouldn't be shocked if they can come out with a 14 or 13.9. They don't like to go 14 because some states can't sell. They wouldn't be able to sell this in Mississippi because Mississippi, you can't go above 10. But there might be a 10% version of it in Mississippi. When I went to Mississippi one time, they had 10% Four Loko and 10% Juice, Joose. But if you come to Louisiana, it's 14 or 13.9. All right. I'll give it an 86 out of 100. A good product for in the flavored malt beverage category. So am I grading it according to style? Well, yeah. What else you going to grade it according to? It is only in its style, right? I can't grade it as a stout. I can't grade it as a light beer. I'm grading it as what it is, a flavored malt beverage. Just like I would grade a tomato according to what it is, not, I wouldn't be foolish about it. Okay, I would grade against other tomatoes or other vegetables. Anyway, although some people say tomatoes are fruit, but usually you see it in vegetables. The vegetable section tastes like a vegetable. Doesn't taste like a fruit. But anyhow, I'll show y'all the website. So cheers, a B, good. I wouldn't want to buy it again unless they come out with a new flavor. I might buy it for that price. Oh, first let's go here. Mark Anthony Group, a collection of enduring and iconic brands. It's a family-owned company. They've been around for 53 years. They have estate wineries. Who they work with. I guess little companies that need some big support to get on the market, which is nothing wrong with that. White Claw hard seltzer, not my jam for sure. I don't like beer made from sugarcane with no hops, but some people like these seltzer beers. I tried the black cherry. It was pretty good, but I wouldn't buy it. Now we got these New World brands, Cayman Jack, White Claw, Mike's, Olay. I don't know what Olay is. Oh, tequila cocktails. No, I haven't seen those yet. Louisiana's market's a little bit flooded, so got a lot of these on the shelf. It might show up. Those Monaco cocktails running the show for a while. They kind of fading away, but 5.2. I don't know. They may not make it here. Louisiana people seem to like the 10 to 12 percenters, honestly. All right, MXD. We know about that one, of course. That's what I'm dealing with right now. Cayman Jack, you've all seen that. The premium craft spirits, Glendalough Distillery, Dillon's, Barefaced Canadian Whiskey, Glendalough. I don't know about those companies, but maybe I'll see them one day. Barefaced Canadian Whiskey. You know what? Maybe I have seen this actually. And they go into all this detail. It's so special, but it's probably made by some big Canadian company like Canadian Mist or somebody. But they're gonna pretend like it's, a little craft distillery. But if you read it carefully, then you'll see it. It ain't really, but it's just a source product. But there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because it might taste fine. I'm not gonna rag on something I don't even know. American oak, French oak, Hungarian oak. So you've got a few different brands. Blending. They talk about blending. Yeah, that's very important in Canadian whiskey, the art of blending. Bear Ball. That means basically good bear. Triple oak. Oh, that was the three oaks they were talking about. 111. 111 proof, maybe? Barefaced Oaxaca. Oh, I see. They're adding mezcal, which is allowed in Canadian whiskey. You can go up. You can add different spirits to Canadian whiskey to get a different flavor. So they're adding mezcal. Well, I would buy that if I saw it and the price wasn't too bad. That'd be cool. That would be the natural flavoring. The Wilderness series. Crafted Canadian cocktails. Haven't seen those, but I'd be on the lookout for them. Don't know what the ABV is. See if I can blow this up.
Yeah. I think it's probably something sold in Canada.
Oh, well. Anyway, back to MXD. Blue Hawaiian. Tropical Paradise in a can. Bold pineapple and creamy coconut flavors are rounded out by a hint of orange for an exceptionally smooth 12% alcohol by volume finish. Available size is 16 ounce. Well, if you just saw, I opened the 12-ounce can, so obviously that changed. Now there's a 12 ounce. And they have the strawberry daiquiri, the Mai Tai, the margarita, and the Long Island iced tea. I've had them all. And each can has a character that to me would appeal to children, but some adults act like children, so I guess that makes sense. Each character has a name. And this one is Charlie. Charlie. So I guess they don't take it too seriously, They're not trying to be like hoity-toity craft beer, because clearly they are not. Then if you read frequently asked questions, they talk about their shelf life. What is the shelf life? Good question. A year. I would get it as fresh as possible if I'm tell you the truth. All right, so there you go. You can look at it if you're interested. Whoa. Oh, sorry. I whistled and the cat jumped up. All right, let me go get the rest of the can and then we're going to close it out. I can show you what I have for my show and tell if you want to see that. If not, I'm going to go watch some videos. I got to work at 5:28 a.m. Work till 2:02 p.m. You say that's early. I know, but I like getting to work early. That way I can get home early. I just wake up really early. I woke up at 12:55, exactly 12:55. And I got to watch all the Major League Baseball highlights. I watched 4 of them yesterday. Then the rest were posted this morning. Then I'll start watching beer reviews. And of course I ate breakfast. All right, so what I want to drink this for just to drink it. Actually, no. I would not ever drink this. I don't like Hawaiian punch. I don't like alcoholic Hawaiian punch. I'm not saying it has a bad flavor. It doesn't have a bad flavor. It has a good flavor. It's just not a flavor I want to taste. When I was 10 years old, yeah. But not with the alcohol. But now the answer is definitely not. But some people love these things, so I can't really knock it. Walmart started to stock it. And I thought MXD was dying out, but no, it's making a big comeback, looks like. So, well, they never really pushed it. That was the issue like 10 years ago. It was like they would just stick it on a shelf. And people were like, what is this, and they would pass over it. But now I think they're really going to push it, which should help. We see Schlitz going out of business. Well, they've been out of business since they sold their company in 1982, but the brand is being discontinued. Now somebody might buy it and bring it immediately back. Now that's always subject to change, right? But they're getting rid of Schlitz, they said, and but what do you expect? They never promoted it. They really did nothing to promote it for the last 40 years, honestly, maybe 35 years. I mean, they would have a couple of little promotions here or there, but nothing significant. You know, like they had the World War II cans in 1995. It was nice. I bought one. 50th anniversary. I bought a six pack. The 50th anniversary of the end of World War II cans. It looked nice, and it was a reproduction of the 1945 Schlitz can. But you don't have radio ads. You don't have any television commercials. Nothing on the internet. It's going to fade away. People don't buy what they don't see. I mean, I do, but most people are not going to go snooping around the beer store looking for oddball stuff. Anybody under 40 years old probably never heard of Schlitz. Anybody under 50 years old probably never heard of Schlitz. And if they did, they didn't know what it was. And furthermore, they didn't care, even though it might have been in the store right in front of them. Now, did my local store sell a lot of Schlitz? Yes. 12 packs out the door. They would always sell out. Then they'd restock it, sell out, restock. But it was always probably old guys in their 60s, 70s buying it. But they'd buy it all. And they'd always buy it. So if you had your little market, you'd always have sales. But the question is, did they have much of a market around the country? And the answer is, obviously, they did not. And I think, like I told my friend David Saturday, I said, I think Schlitz bought all these brands to get them off the shelf. In other words, they did it on purpose. They wanted to kill Schlitz and Stroh's and Peel's and Falstaff and Old Milwaukee. They wanted that killed so that everybody would buy what cheap beer? You got it, Pabst Blue Ribbon and Pabst Light. They knew what they were doing. They went around the country buying a bunch of failing brands. Basically, this is my theory. Schaefer is another example, to eliminate competition. Now, in your Detroit area, they might push Stroh's. The rest of the country, forget it. Schaefer around New Jersey, New York City, Connecticut, they might push Schaefer, but otherwise, forget it. It ain't going to happen. Around Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland, you'll see National Bohemian. Otherwise, you ain't going to see it. And if you live around Chicago and Illinois and Wisconsin, you'll see Old Style. But they're letting them die out because they don't want people buying Old Style. They want people buying PBR, Pabst Blue Ribbon. You get it? And they probably bought these brands for chump change, I mean, the company's about to go out of business. You're going to pay a lot? I don't think so. Joe Cobb says, rare second channel stream. Right, I don't do it too much, but occasionally was talking to my Australian buddies around lunchtime yesterday. They wanted to see what a Canadian liquor store looks like, so I showed them. Told the clerk I know about them before she was excited to see them. Don't think she has traveled much. Oh, yeah, 30 degrees Celsius here in Toronto. So that's about 80 degrees American temperature. No, it's warm, huh? Okay. It's very warm here. I'm sweating in this shirt. I got all the windows open still. I'm going to have to turn on the air conditioner unit, but I'm trying to hold on as long as I can. I remember I met some people from New Zealand once. I used to work at Taco Bell when I went to college. And these people came in and they wanted to order food, and they had a perfect English accent. Not a Cockney accent, but just like English, like you would see on television in a proper English setting. And I said, where are you from? I thought they were going to say, England somewhere. We're from New Zealand. I said, really? Threw me for a loop because they had like totally identical to English accent. I thought, it didn't sound like Australian. You could always tell Australian. It doesn't sound English. It does, but it sounds like a bizarre variant, But that New Zealand accent was like, but New Zealand is a small country. They don't have that many people. It's like a little outpost. It's like a little piece of England in the South Pacific. It's so isolated. So, and there's not many people there. If it was part of the United States, it would just be a kind of a smaller state. Yeah, a smaller state. So they don't have a lot of people. All right. When companies are going bankrupt, they sell companies for very cheap. In 2001, when Volkswagen had a lot of money, they bought the French car company Bugatti for 50 million. They also bought Bentley for 500 million. But Bugatti for 50 million was crazy. Nowadays, Bugattis are some of the fastest sports cars. Volkswagen, Audi parts. Australian has its own dialect. New Zealand is more English. Yeah. I know January 1st of 2027. Oh, and happy Victoria Day. January 1st, 2027 is the 40th anniversary of New Zealand, the New Zealand Act going into effect. And the New Zealand Act said that from that date forward, the British Parliament would no longer be able to amend their constitution or have to approve their constitution. In other words, after that date, only New Zealand could modify their constitution. So the people say that's when they became independent. And plus, they could no longer appeal court cases to London. Up until 1987, they could appeal court cases to London. But they had some cases that were still on the books. So they said, well, we're talking about new cases. So some of those cases dragged out until 2013. So the last British Empire, so to speak, rulings for New Zealand was in 2013, which is only 13 years ago. But so they now have control. They had control of their own constitution, although King Charles is still the king of New Zealand. But and Australia got control of their constitution in 1986, and then Canada in 82. Yes, that is correct. All right. Now, yes, it's a federal holiday. Nice to have a long weekend. I wonder if New Zealand also has that law that Australia has, that the Crown can nullify any law. I don't think that's a law in New Zealand. It was just something in the Australian Constitution, some article in the Constitution. I don't think they put it in New Zealand Constitution. It just said that the King of England, or the Queen, depending, the King could nullify any Australian law up to a year after it was passed. In other words, for 12 months after it was passed, he could just cancel any law, delete any law, or what you say, veto. But and that was never repealed, by the way. That's what they were pointing out in some of these videos I saw and articles I read. It was never repealed. It's still on the books, but it was never used. It's never been used. It's a power, but it's never been exercised. So, it's like in the United States, we got laws, but they don't actually use the laws. They're there, but they don't use them. Like Congress can tell the Supreme Court what they can rule on. A lot of people don't know that. The Congress will say, like, we can't help it. The Supreme Court said it's unconstitutional. And people say, yeah, but the Constitution says you can control their appellate jurisdiction. In other words, the Congress can pass a law saying what the Supreme Court can rule on. Appellate jurisdiction, not jurisdiction that they have from the get-go. But they never do it. Of course they never do it. That way they can blame the Supreme Court for some ruling that's not popular. But they could actually tell the Supreme Court, you cannot rule on abortion, for instance, a controversial topic. Oh, they're not going to do that. But it's on the books, and it's their power. Congress likes to pretend like we don't have any powers. The president picking on us. No, you can kick the president out of office. The president can't kick Congress out of office. I get along with my buddies from Oceania, but they have very different opinions on Asia, like China, Indonesia, etc. I guess it makes sense. They are a lot closer to them and they rely and trade with them more. That makes sense. Australia was mostly a prison colony, so maybe that's why the law was there. Yeah, maybe to make sure they didn't get out of hand. Well, a lot of times you said it's soft power. They will negotiate behind closed doors instead of using these powers. Right. They don't ever. No, ever do it up front. Politics is very strange things, and a lot of people actually study how it works. Or not a lot of people. Yeah, yeah, it's soft power. They talk about that on the U.S. television all the time when President Trump was hosting King Charles. But I don't know if they talk about that in Canada or England, but they were saying, does the king make decisions? They said, no, not up front, but he uses soft power like, well, ways of doing things, let's call it. Like they were saying, did the British Crown ever influence Australia's laws? And the British monarchy were like, never, never, never. We don't interfere with their constitution, their laws. And they were like, well, would you release all the records showing that? They're like, well, we don't need to release the records. Who wants to look at the records? A bunch of old records. So like, well, we'd like to read them since, of course, since it doesn't matter, since you don't interfere. And then so it was like, no, you don't need to read all these worthless records. So then it went to this whole Freedom of Information Act or something, and they looked at the records, and it was like there was like 1,000 times, like literally there was 1,000. It wasn't 100. It was 1,000 times since 1952 where they had intervened in some way in a law in Australia. It was like they didn't say you can't pass it. They were just like contacting somebody. Like there was records showing they had called somebody. Do we want this law passed? What is all of this about this law? And then they show where the law was taken off the debate. Oh no, we'll just take that down. We weren't really interested in it anyway. But of course we were until you called. And they were like, oh, it was like a big scandal years ago. And that's why some Australians are saying, we can't have a king. We need to have a president. Yeah, like a president wouldn't interfere with anything. Right. Come to America, Australia. All right. Anyway, but it was interesting reading that article. It was like, they never intervened except 1,000 times. But beyond that, and they were like, oh, yeah, well, that was just a couple of that was just a few phone calls and emails. Why are you getting all excited about that? We didn't tell them they couldn't do it. We just maybe advised them that it wouldn't be a particularly good idea, and then they dropped the bill. All right. Anyway, last comments. I could show y'all what's coming up next, but you're probably not interested. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your sunny Monday here. Like I said, I'm going for a walk. Well, you want your daughter to go to Oxford, stuff like that. Oh yeah, right. They never say your daughter can't go to Oxford. They wouldn't say something like that. They just say your daughter's looking to get a scholarship to go to Oxford, isn't she not? Is she not? That's all they say. They just ask a question. They just ask if their daughter was looking to go to Oxford on a scholarship. Now, you could say, well, that could be interpreted as an implied threat. Could it be interpreted any way you want? But they're very slick, they're very careful of how they phrase things. Because then you have deniability. You say, I didn't threaten anybody's scholarship. I just asked a man if his daughter was looking to go to Oxford on a scholarship. You say, but who controls scholarships in England? Oh, well, the person asking the question, but whatever. Lots of the U.S. military tech in Australia, they have those satellite relays called Pine Gap. lots of money, so I doubt things will change. And remember, England, Australia, United States signed a new alliance that they're in this defense alliance, meaning let's team up against China alliance. So you got the United States, Australia, and Great Britain in this like surround China thing. All right, you take care too. So anyway, y'all take care. Bye-bye, everybody. Oh, but last call to see what's coming up. Going once. Going twice. Oh, yeah, Kanzuk. Canada, New Zealand, UK. Yeah, yeah. And going. All right, well, y'all going to see what's coming up because I'm going to show it when it comes up. All right, well, now let's jump over back to the main channel and see what's going on over there. Bye-bye, everybody.